For nearly 38 years, he believed he knew exactly who he was. He knew who his parents were. He knew where he belonged. He knew exactly how his story began. Then one Christmas, someone handed him a simple DNA test. It looked like an ordinary gift, something millions of people buy every year. A fun way to learn more about your ancestry, nothing more. So he mailed his sample, waited a few weeks, and forgot about it. Until one email changed everything. At first, the results looked completely normal. Then he noticed one name, a woman the test identified as his biological aunt. There was only one problem. Nobody in his family had ever heard of her. At first, he assumed the DNA company had made a mistake. But the deeper he looked, the less that explanation made sense. Every answer created an even bigger question, because this wasn't pointing toward a hidden relative. It was pointing towards something that should have been impossible. Nearly 4 decades earlier, something had happened inside a small hospital, something that would quietly change 2 families forever, and nobody would discover it. Until one simple DNA test exposed the truth. This is the true story of 2 families who spent nearly 38 years living someone else's life, and it all started with an ordinary Christmas gift. Kyle Bylin wasn't searching for a family secret. He wasn't trying to solve a mystery. He simply wanted to learn a little more about his ancestry. Home DNA kits had become incredibly popular. Millions of people were using them to discover where their families came from, find distant relatives, or build a family tree. Kyle expected exactly the same experience. He mailed the sample, waited for the results, and went back to his normal life. A few weeks later, the email finally arrived. At first, everything looked exactly as he expected. Then he saw something that shouldn't have been there. Kyle couldn't stop thinking about the results. Who was this woman? Why did the DNA test identify her as his biological aunt? And why had nobody in his family ever mentioned her? At first, he looked for the simplest explanation. Maybe the DNA company had made a mistake. After all, millions of people were taking these tests every year. Surely mistakes happened. But the more he researched, the less likely that explanation became. DNA doesn't randomly create close biological relatives, especially not an aunt. Kyle decided to reach out. The woman was just as surprised as he was. She had never heard of Kyle Bylin. She couldn't explain why a DNA test identified him as family, but instead of ignoring the mystery, she decided to help solve it. She shared the results with her relatives. One person in particular became impossible to ignore. Her nephew, Jeremy Morrison. At first, Jeremy didn't believe there could be any connection, but the story was strange enough that he agreed to take a DNA test himself. Now everyone waited. If Jeremy's results showed no connection, the mystery would end there. The first test would simply become an unexplained mistake, but if the results matched, everything both families believed about their past would have to be questioned. Weeks later, Jeremy's DNA results finally arrived. And in a single moment, the mystery became something far bigger than anyone had imagined. For days, nobody said much. Everyone simply waited. If Jeremy's DNA results came back negative, the mystery would finally be over. Kyle could go back to his normal life. The strange DNA match would become nothing more than an unanswered question. But if the results confirmed a biological connection, nothing would ever be the same again. Finally, the report arrived. Jeremy opened the results. Within seconds, everyone realized this wasn't a mistake. Kyle wasn't connected to Jeremy's family by coincidence. He was connected to them by birth. The DNA left almost no room for another explanation. Somewhere, nearly 38 years earlier, something had gone terribly wrong. At first, nobody wanted to believe it. It sounded impossible, not real life. But every new piece of evidence pointed to the same conclusion. Both men had been born on the same day, in the same hospital, in the same small town. And according to the records, they were the only two baby boys born there that day. Suddenly, the impossible became the only explanation that made sense. Somewhere inside that hospital, the two newborns had been switched, not by their parents, not through adoption, not because of a hidden family secret, but because of a mistake that nobody noticed. For nearly 38 years, Kyle believed he belonged to one family. Jeremy believed exactly the same about his own. Both of them were wrong. In a single moment, two families lost the certainty they had lived with for almost 4 decades. Every birthday, every family photograph, every childhood memory, every holiday, everything they believed about where their lives had begun was suddenly called into question. But discovering the truth didn't bring peace. It raised an even bigger question. How could something like this happen and remain hidden for nearly 38 years? The discovery changed everything, but it couldn't change the past. Kyle and Jeremy finally knew the truth. They knew where they had come from, and they finally understood what had happened nearly 4 decades earlier. But no DNA test could give them back the lives they never lived. No court could return the birthdays they had missed, the childhood memories they never shared, or the years spent growing up with parents they were never supposed to leave. Soon after the truth came to light, both families filed a lawsuit against the hospital. They weren't just searching for compensation. They wanted answers. How could 2 newborn babies be switched? And nobody realized it for nearly 38 years. The hospital acknowledged that the babies had been switched, but it denied responsibility, arguing that too much time had passed and that many of the original records and staff were no longer available. The legal case is still unfolding for Kyle and Jeremy. The lawsuit was only part of the story. The harder challenge was learning how to live with the truth. Because discovering your biological family doesn't erase the family who raised you. It doesn't erase birthdays, family dinners, school photos, or the people who loved you every single day. Maybe that's why this story resonates with so many people. It forces us to ask a difficult question. What truly makes someone family? Is it DNA? Or is it the people who were there for every important moment of your life? Kyle and Jeremy never got the chance to choose. That decision was made for them before they were old enough to speak. One simple mistake changed 2 lives forever, but it also revealed something unexpected. Identity isn't built by a single moment. It's built by thousands of moments over a lifetime. Maybe a DNA test can tell you where your story began, but it can never decide who you became.